Wrecking Crew mic check 1 2. What is going on, you guys? Kenjin here. So we are in Final Fantasy 14 and we are having a first look at the monk changes. So patch 5.4 is out today and monk has had a significant revamp of weapon skills, abilities and traits. The biggest change being the absence, as you can see here, no longer on screen, the absence of greased lightning. Now I am not a specialist monk and I don't savage raid with monk or anything, but it was the first class that I rolled when I started the game in A Realm Reborn, so I've always been a little bit bummed out that it was a little bit difficult to play, to be honest. A lot of timers, a lot of positionals. Some of these things are going away and are being a little bit eased, I think, with the patch. So getting right into it, I think the first main change that you'll notice is that most of the abilities, that have weapon skills, let's say, that have direct impact, so a weapon potency that is a hit, have been increased significantly by a factor of at least 50 damage, some of them much more. The weapon skills that also have a damage over time effect have been increased by quite a large amount, between, let's say, 15 to 20% more damage. And the potency for all these weapon skills, whether they are direct damage or damage over time, have also been increased based on their positionals. So Bunshin, for instance, is something that does more damage if you're attacking from the rear, sorry. It does critical damage, and in this case, a bad example because obviously critical damage is always going to be critical damage, but some of the others have had their potency increased by a larger amount depending on the positionals, so that's something interesting to see. But that's really the boring stuff. There's a few changes that are quite interesting for those who care about playing monk, whether it is like what we do, you know, the expert roulette, the regular raids and the non-pressurized environments where you still have to perform, or whether you play on savage mode and you're looking, you know, to be the first one to kill whatever boss. Either way, I think there are some changes that are really cool. So the first one, as I mentioned before, is greased lightning is gone. So now it's a trait that you passively have depending on your level. There's going to be a different amount of increase of speed, technically by reducing the recast time. So when you're level 80, that increase is going to be 20%. So if you see, now I'm in combat because it just doesn't turn off really, but on a striking dummy, so if you see, without having any greased lightning or anything on screen, the global cooldown of the abilities is pretty fast already, which is amazing. So by default now the class is always going to be that fast without you having to worry about applying greased lightning by perfect balancing at the beginning or something, depending on how you're doing it. I don't know if you're min-maxing, but either way. So that's the first big change that I think makes quite a big of a difference in the way you play. Now the second change that I think is interesting is a change to deep meditation. So deep meditation, as you know, it was giving you a certain guaranteed, well not guaranteed, but a certain chance of critical strike on weapon skills opening a chakra. And now this chance has basically turned into a guarantee once you get to level 74. So every time you're gonna hit a crit, bang, you're gonna open a chakra, which is pretty nice. Some crits are gonna come naturally if you've melded your gear with a lot of critical strike. But also you remember that some abilities like Bunshin, when you use them from behind, guarantee a crit, so those are going to give you a chakra every time now, which is pretty good. Remember that also the abilities that cancel the requirements, I think, are giving you a let's try that now. Oh, they will. Okay, right, fine. Sorry about that. So yes, so as long as you're in the right form, obviously, that's me being stupid. Riddle of Earth and True North, which nullify the positional requirements, are also going to trigger Bunshin, giving you a guaranteed crit, sorry, meaning that it's also going to guarantee giving you a chakra. Anyway, so sorry, to go back into that. So the second change that I want to talk about that I just did actually is the change to Riddle of Earth. The Riddle of Wind is completely gone, so let's not talk about that. Bye bye. it's in the bin. The Riddle of Earth now has changed to reduce damage taken by 10% and nullifying all actions. Direction requirement. So it doesn't last a long time, it's only 6 seconds, but with the Grease Lightning 3 effects being permanent, I think you can still stick a few globals into that. But it has 3 charges. 3 charges on a 30-second recast timer. So it's a nice change. I think it gives a little bit more flexibility. It's a shame that the duration is not a bit longer, which is something that is, I think, filled by True North already. It's 10 seconds for pretty much all of the DPS. So now Monk have 2 ways to cancel the directional requirement, or at least a way that's a bit more constant. True North has 2 charges as well, but recast slower, 45 seconds compared to 30. So the new Riddle of Earth is a pretty good way to cancel all the positionals that are, I think personally, that's just my opinion, that are a little bit annoying really to play the class, but some people like that, I understand. But yeah, that's another big change in terms of how the class is going to feel and how you're going to play. Another thing, I'm just going down the notes there to make sure I don't forget anything. So another thing is obviously affecting all of the abilities that were interacting in some manner with Grease Lightning. So these abilities are mainly, I think, the ones I bother about really that I want to explain. Tornado Kick, Anatman, and well, Form Shift, even though it wasn't just Grease Lightning. So now Tornado Kick has turned into a bit of a single target equivalent to Elixir Field. So Elixir Field is still 30-second recast, 250 potency to all nearby enemies. Doesn't change, adds nicely into the powerful AoE rotation that Monk has, at least the steady rotation. It's nice and efficient. And now Tornado Kick is doing the same thing for single target. So it's on a 45-second recast, and it does a single damage ability, so you can stick that in between globals at a 400 potency, so it's a very nice change. It adds another button to press when you're doing single targets. That isn't just another timer to look at, which is a lot of the other abilities that Monk has, as you know. So that's the good thing. Now Anatman has also changed from freezing Grease Lightning more or less into extending the duration of Twin Snakes and your present form to maximum and halts their expiration. Cancel the auto attack upon execution, which I think was also the case before. So listen, it's another change to try and fit more into things. So one thing that was annoying was losing your Twin Snake buff when the boss was running away doing something that didn't allow you to refresh it, and I think that will help. I'm not sure whether it's as impactful. Those who know better about Monk will tell. But considering the last change to Form Shift, which now grants Formless Fist, which allows the execution of weapon skill that requires a certain form without being in that form. So you can always press Form Shift when the boss comes back to then go into Twin Snakes and activate the damage potency increase. So I'm not sure whether that change to an Atman is amazing, but I guess it's one way to also extend the duration of your form. So listen, we'll take it. But yeah, these are the biggest changes. I think there's also something that's worth mentioning for Brotherhood. I think that wasn't the case before. I've never really bothered to look at, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't the case. So Brotherhood now also has a chance to open a chakra when somebody casts a spell. As I understand, that was just a weapon skill effect in the past. And so because of that change, now Brotherhood only triggers a 20% chance rather than 30%. Obviously, because it's now both weapon skills and spells, they had to reduce the chance for this not to just stack infinitely. It was already hard enough, I would assume, to balance all of this with all the potency changes. So they had to do something to kind of mitigate it. I think that's what they're doing. And yeah, so as I said, Riddle of Earth is now completely gone. And the last small change, I think, that will take place when the boss again is running away and you see that coming, is a change to six-sided star. I felt like it was a little bit meh, the ability, because it was very situational before. It still remains situational now because of the very long recast time compared to the rest of the abilities. But now six-sided star gives you a little speed, movement speed for 5 seconds when you use it. So I guess this is going to be useful when you know that the boss is going to cast something, a cone attack or something that you have to get out of, and you want to stick in some potency before you have to run for your life. And this helps taking a little bit more risk by delivering an attack that's quite powerful, running away, in which case the increased recast time doesn't really matter because you're not hitting the boss anyway. The boss, the mob, or whatever. So yeah, so that's another important change. Other than that, I think you guys already knew, I'm not sure whether you had, if you don't know, let's go through it, but Perfect Balance had a rebalance as well. So now Perfect Balance works a little bit like Bunshin for ninjas. So you have a certain amount of stacks over which you can basically use any weapon skill that requires a form without being in that form. So it's kind of an enhanced version of Form Shift that has 6 stacks that lasts for 15 seconds, which is quite a few global considering the permanent Grease Lightning 3. And it, as I said, it allows anything to be cast at any time. Now the one thing that I think would have been sweet for Perfect Balance is to also increase the cancellation, the removal of positional requirements for those stacks, which it doesn't. It's pretty obvious from the description. I need to try it because on the training dummy it's a bit annoying, but I don't think it does, which just makes it really an enhanced version of Form Shift, which is on the same, on the second duration, yeah, so same duration. So it's a bit of a shame. It would have been nice if Perfect Balance was also a positional cooldown. But I guess this plus that's tasty, you just heard coughing, so I guess Perfect Balance being positional cooldown plus the other two I think would have been a bit overkill. But that brings me to my last point really. Considering what's happening here, we're trying to make things a little bit simpler, get the Grease Lightning frustration out of the way. That's now become baseline at endgame, and give those additional tools to do some damage in situations that would otherwise not have been available, like Tornado Kick, giving a bit more flexibility like Form Shift to reapply Twin Snakes whenever you can. Also give Perfect Balance a little bit more flexibility to allow you to use any kind of attack. You can use this to, for instance, trigger a Dragon Kick that gives a laden fist, so that, you know, synergize well with a Boot Shine that is then going to double the damage if you are positioning well, or you can use it to refresh them. Well, I mean, there's a lot of things you can do with the 6 stacks of Perfect Balance, but I feel like needing to press Riddle of Earth or True North in cases where, sadly, for positionals, because of boss encounter mechanics, you can be behind or on the side of the enemy, I think is just adding a little bit more complication that I don't think was needed if Perfect Balance had that into it. I don't know whether it would make more sense to have just the Perfect Balance positional requirements removed for the abilities that uses the stack, and then not have the Riddle of Earth the way it is now, and have it more as an all defensive cooldown. I think that's something that could have been, I don't know, could have been interesting from my perspective. Again, limited experience of just playing, you know, baby stuff, the expert roulette, the normal raids, you know, very easy stuff 2-3 weeks after the content is out. So maybe I'm surely not the one to have the right opinion on it. But yeah, I feel like it's just adding a little bit more buttons that are not particularly needed if they could have been integrated into that Perfect Balance cooldown. But yeah, overall it feels really good. As I said at the beginning, Monk was the first class that I rolled when I started the game, so I was really excited to see the changes. I think they give the class a little bit more panache. It does feel like some heavy hitter, again with all these extra abilities, and it no longer feels like you're playing, you know, make sure you have all your timers lined up kind of game. And that's how it felt so far to me. Some people like that, I understand they do. The same people that loved Feral Druid back in the days of snapshotting all of your cooldowns into your rip and other damage over time in World of Warcraft. But you know, I feel like something like Monk responds more to the idea of strikes rather than timers, but I guess that's me. Anyhow, this is going in a direction a little bit more, so it's great. You see the Forbidden Chakra bug there, triggering the attack while I was just going for the triggering the meditation while I was going for the attack. That's another change, by the way, that came through that I think is minor. The meditation cooldown is quicker, so it's on to 1 second now rather than 1.2, which is never a good idea to press if you're in the middle of hitting things anyway. So that's, I guess, when you have time, when you're still in combat in an encounter but you're away from the boss, then I think, yeah, you have a quicker time to restack your chakras. But that's that really. So that's it. Recorded in one take. I'm sure I'm going to cut things off in the editing, but that's that. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about the changes to Monk. I'm quite excited about them. Tasty warned me that I cannot go to the new dungeon yet without her. She's still working there next to me there. So as you can see, I still have my main style quest that I haven't done because I'm waiting for her. But yeah, I'm sure I'm gonna have some fun. Yeah, so thank you guys. I'll see you soon. And remember, as usual, finish strong, but start casual.